Thank you so much, Vaibhav. Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to welcome you all to Technical Session 6 on Feminist Activism, Data Politics, and Digital Resistance. As Vaibhav have already introduced me, so I'm Afreen Hussain, a PhD scholar at Sarojini Naidu Centre for Women's Studies, Jamia Millia Islamia, and I have the privilege of chairing this session. Assisting me as reporters are Vaibhav and Mohammad Sajid. Vaibhav is MA student and Mohammad Sajid is PhD scholar at SNCWS. So we have an exciting lineup of 7 speakers, each offering a unique perspective. Our first paper presenter is Eva Megiza Ji, a research scholar in Auxilium College, Tamil Nadu, who will speak on the topic from hashtags to revolutions, feminist digital resistance, and decolonial counterpublics in the global south. Eva, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm present my screen. I'm traveling and I hope that I'm audible to you.
Yeah, Eva, you can start.
Good morning, everyone. Eva, a research scholar from Auxilium College, Vellore, Tamil Nadu. It's a pleasure to be here today to talk about a subject that is shaping activism in unprecedented ways. It's none other than digital resistance. We live in an era where social media and digital platforms became tools of empowerment and particularly feminist and decolonial movements in the global south.
Yeah.
So now when we think of activism, picture protest, marches,
Yusra, please mute yourself. Yusra, mute yourself.
Yusra, please mute yourself.
but in today's world, activism has expanded beyond the streets. It's thriving in digital spaces from Me Too to Neona Menos, from Bring Back Our Girls to Dalit Lives Matter. These movements across the world have used digital platforms to challenge power structures and demand justice. But here's to the big question: how digital activism actually lead to real change, or is it just another trend that fades away? In this presentation, we'll explore how digital activism works, its strengths, its challenges, and its future. Let's start by understanding the power of digital spaces. So what exactly is the digital space? Simply put, it's a virtual environment. Social media, websites, online forums, blogs, where people communicate, share ideas, and most importantly, they resist oppression. So for marginalized communities, digital spaces are more than just platforms. They are lifelines for them. They provide space for voices that are often ignored in the mainstream media. Some of the most impactful movements like Me Too, hashtag #NeOnaMenos, hashtag Bring Back Our Girls have emerged from digital activism. So these movements didn't just raise awareness, but they also forced institutions to take action. But why do digital spaces matter so much for activism? Here are the 3 reasons. They break geographical barriers, they document injustice in real time, and they create solidarity among them. A woman in Argentina can share her struggle with gender violence and it can resonate with someone in India. Think of videos exposing police brutality or testimonies of sexual violence that perpetrators are accountable for. And there are certain movements that can connect people across borders, and this leads to powerful collective action. However, certain digital spaces also present challenges, and activists must navigate censorship, online harassment, and corporate control. Something we'll dive into shortly. But first, let's talk about how hashtags play a crucial role in digital resistance. The power of hashtags. Now let's pause for a second and think, why do hashtags matter so much? What makes them powerful enough to start revolutions? Hashtags serve as a digital rallying cry. They do 5 key things. They are viral amplification, community building, awareness and visibility, mobilization for action, and counter narrative. These are presented in the screen. A single hashtag can spread across the world in seconds. Think of hashtag #MeToo, which became a global conversation overnight. And hashtags create virtual communities where people connect with their own shared experiences and they come together. Movements like hashtag #NeUnaMenos put gender-based violence in Latin America and on the global map. Activists like certain people from the global north and global south have used hashtags to organize protests, fundraisers, and legal campaigns. It also challenges the dominant power structures by offering alternative perspectives. For example, hashtag Dalit Lives Matter brought caste-based violence into the digital spotlight, while hashtag Loiter in India and Pakistan challenged restrictions on women's mobility. So these movements prove that hashtags are not just trends, but rather they are tools of resistance. However, not all activism online is effective, and that's where the challenges begin. Now we'll move on to the challenges and criticisms of digital activism. As a powerful digital activism is, it isn't perfect. In fact, it faces serious limitations. Let's take a look at some of them. Slacktivism, we have all seen it. People sharing a post, changing their profile picture, but doing nothing beyond that. Digital activism can sometimes lack real world action. Next is algorithmic suppression, where social media platforms, prioritize entertainment over activism. And many grassroots movements are there which struggle to gain visibility because of biased algorithms. Next is misinformation and co-optation, where political groups and corporations and even celebrities sometimes they hijack movements for their own benefit by shifting the focus away from the cause. Next comes digital divide. Here, not everyone has equal access to technology or the internet. Activism remains inaccessible to many in the global south due to lack of resources. Next is the online harassment and backlash. Here, women, LGBTQ, and activists and other marginalized voices, they face cyberbullying, doxing, and threats, forcing many to withdraw from activism. Despite these barriers, digital activism continues to evolve and adapt. But the key question is, how do we make digital activism more effective and sustainable? Now we'll move on to the key findings. After analyzing various digital movements, we see some clear patterns: unequal visibility and algorithmic bias. Here, not all hashtags receive equal attention. Movements from the global south often struggle for visibility. And next comes linguistic
We
and
have 2
cultural
minutes to
erosion.
conclude.
Conclude.
Let's conclude within 2 minutes.
It's clear that while hashtags and online movements are powerful tools, they alone aren't enough. Sustainable activism requires a combination of online resistance and offline action. So while digital activism has limitation, it is still one of the most powerful tools of our generation. The challenge now is to make sure whether it translates into real change. So the next time you see a hashtag, ask yourself, is this just a trend or is it a revolution in the making? Because in the right hands, a simple hashtag can change the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eva, for your valuable presentation and the perspectives that you brought to this discussion. Our next speaker is Balaka Chattaraj, pursuing PhD from Tezpur University, Assam, who will speak on the topic, Exploring Gender-Based Violence in the Indian Twitter Space. Balaka, are you there?
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes. You can
Okay,
start.
I have a PPT, so please let
You
me
can
know
share,
that
you can share.
share. Okay. Okay, anyway, I will go by, like, I will present it orally because I'm facing some problem to share the PPT. So I
Not
will
an issue.
present it orally.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so this, like, I am like involved in a project work where we are like specifically me as a researcher, where I am seeing how violence has been inflicted upon women in digital spaces. So this paper I have developed from one of the chapter that the project work has drafted. So in this chapter, I have specifically looked how gender-based violence has been inflicted, particularly among women in Indian Twitter space. So the methodology has been used by me is a qualitative approach, and for ethical purpose I have purposely like not will take the name of the Twitter handles and the victims who has been gone through the violence that has taken place in the Indian Twitter space. And to begin with the introduction section, in the introduction section the paper talks about the popular types of violence that has been inflicted upon women in Indian Twitter space, means the handles which are being operated from Indian Twitter. The types of violence that has been inflicted towards women most popularly is doxing their identities. Second is targeting the women and under their post with abuses, particularly rape threats and death threats and acid attacks. And the next thing that the post which are made from the Indian Twitter handles is to reinforce the traditional gender role. And in the second part, I have tried to go through the interviews and the posts that the women who have been the victim of this violence, what was their experiences and how that has affected women and the long lasting effect that women had through their mental health or the emotional health. So begin with the types of violences that I have gone through. Most of the posts that I have gone through for the Twitter that have been made from the Indian Twitter handles were made in Hindi and the English. And First, if I go through the problem and the type of violence that women go through is the doxing of their identities. So last year in 2024, there were particularly the women who are very vocal about their political opinions, and the journalist, and I am refraining myself from taking the name of the journalist for protecting her identity and for the ethical purpose, that she writes in Washington Post, and her comments and the post and viewpoint sometimes goes against the popular narrative or the majoritarian political narratives, and how she has been targeted by the right winger Twitter handles, and her entire personal details, including address and phone number, were doxed and shared in the WhatsApp chat. And in her interview, she have like revealed that she have received thousands phone call in one night, and all the phone calls were all about abuses, rape threats. So that has impacted her in her mental health, and also she was afraid of leaving her home and going to the office, which has also affected her professionally. Next is even academician, and the academicians who particularly work on history and try to break through the popular narratives which are being made has been targeted through this violences, that is doxing their identity. Next is even I have looked how in the Indian Twitter space the female members of the male celebrities in the name of fan wars are being targeted, and even the cricketers, when they face any defeat in the international matches, their female members, including their minor daughters, were received with rape threats and death threats, which eventually leads to long lasting effect over their mental and emotional health of their family members. Including the female sports stars has received continuous threat. Even last year Olympic, how Indian hockey team has received with defeat, and the sports star who was Dalit background was faced with additional violences because of a Dalit background. So these are the intersectionality that I have studied, how women coming from a marginalized section are doubly burdened in Indian Twitter space and receiving the abuses. And third kind of violence that popularly is inflicted upon women in Indian Twitter space is reinforcing the traditional gender role through their posts. So even like the new movie which has been released, that's Mrs., which is the Hindi version of the Malayalam film called Great Indian Kitchen, and how that movie has been criticized by certain Twitter handles who even claim themselves for protecting the rights of Indian man and for protecting the traditional role or protecting the Indian family values has criticized the movies and even has trolled female celebrities or the sports stars, particularly, or the academicians, that how they are post and they should go back to the kitchen, and sports is not a particular thing for the women. And these kind of posts, like even post in general, has content which has made fun of Delhi gang rape, and even they have content in the name of humor, and that has been shared by multiple handles in the name of memes, and has made fun of pedophilia, child sexual molestation, Hyderabad gang rape cases, and how Delhi gang rape was used, and made fun that how Delhi is cool, or how boys culture or boys will be boys content has been reinforced. So to understand the consequences, I have gone through the interviews of the female celebrities who has went through this trolling and the abuses. So according to the journalist whose personal identities were doxed, like she even said that how she was getting nightmares and she suffered from anxiety, and that actually leads to a lot of women into social isolation, and it has a long lasting effect over their mental and emotional health. Other than there were female sports stars and academicians who even has shared, other than having impact over their emotional and social health, other than social isolation, women, due to like facing rhetoric abuses continuously in the Indian Twitter space, has actually lead to female celebrities like stopping their Twitter handle, stop use Twitter for sharing their personal opinions. So according to the female feminists, like if I have to theorize the entire thing, then digital space is actually not separate from the real world, and how in real world even rape as a tool has been always used to stop or silence women, and in the war spaces also how women are always unbiasedly or unequally have to carry the burden, and how rape has been used as a weapon to silence the women with a political opinion and who are actually considered as enemy. And in digital space also how rape threats are used to silence women. And right after like X, like now the Twitter is known as X, but
2 minutes, ma'am.
yes, just to for concluding remark, like Twitter has always been used for like putting their political opinion forward, but due to these continuous abuses and threats, women are opting out from the Twitter space out of fear or the psychological disbalance that happens because of this threat has will eventually lead to a gender gap. It will increase the gender gap, and it is snatching the women from their from the platform that they share their political opinions. So this is how I will conclude my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Balaka, for your thoughtful and engaging presentation talking about the marginalized section on online spaces. Our next presenter is Kunal Burman, an assistant professor in Brainware University, West Bengal, presenting his paper on humor, hegemony, and hashtags, a feminist critique of memes and jokes in social media. Kunal, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Yeah,
Am
you
I
can start.
audible? All right, all right. Good afternoon. I am Kunal Burman, and I'm an assistant professor in Brainware University, Barasat, Kolkata. And today I'm going to present a paper before you all, which is titled as Humor, Hegemony, and Hashtags, a feminist critique of memes and jokes in social media. Now, we all at some point in our day-to-day routine, scroll through social media, and in our feeds, we often come across few memes, jokes, humorous posts. Uh, and in fact, memes have become an integral and important part of our digital culture. Opinions are shared and shaped through memes and jokes present in social media. However, we come across memes and jokes which are made at the expense of women and which reinforce the stereotypes against them. These memes are so common in digital culture that their content and underlying sexism often pass unnoticed and unchecked. Gramsci, in his theory of cultural hegemony, talks about the role of cultural institutions in maintaining power in a society. In the digital age, online humor plays the role of cultural institutions that shape public discourse and thought processes to a very large extent. It is through humor that the hegemonic ideologies about gender and sexuality are normalized and rendered invisible. I, in my paper, have tried to analyze few common memes and humor that we come across in social media, and I have tried to classify all these jokes and humors in four categories. First, humor or posts of objectification and sexualization. Second, humor representing women as irrational or over emotional. Third, the nagging wife trope or representation of men or husbands as simple and clueless. And four, humor against feminism. Now, first, humor of objectification and sexualization is again very common in social media. In fact, the act of objectification and sexualization is something that women have to go through frequently. Some of the memes and jokes circulating in social media is nothing but a representation of what is wrong with society. Memes are made like, a comparison is drawn between wife material and fun material, where a comparison is drawn between a lady who is traditionally dressed and whereas a lady who is not traditionally dressed according to people. And this creation of dichotomy, where a woman is just as respectable or sexualized based on their clothes, is still prevalent in social media. Also, memes generalizing sexual preference of women, saying women like being treated in a certain way sexually, lead to not only normalizing but also trivializing sexual harassment. And this humor on social media often passes dark humor, but all they do is reinforce the idea that women are objects to satisfy male desires. Next, humor representing women as over emotional or irrational is again nothing new. In fact, it is since ancient times, from the time of Plato or Aristotle, this narrative that women are irrational and they are incapable of making rational decisions is prevalent. Framing women as unstable, irrational, and emotionally driven rather than logically sound for the sake of comedy just reinforce the already persisting stereotypes against them. One such example is memes based on the driving skills of women. The idea that we often come across memes like women give the left indicator but turn right, and memes like saying captions with captions like woman detected, opinion rejected, or the crazy girlfriend or wife trope might seem harmless on the surface, but actually empirical studies show that women who show emotions in workplace are considered less competent and lacking decision making position. There is also a chance of gaslighting within the workplace and home, where even valid emotional responses to injustice could be termed as irrational. Moreover, this also leads to their self-doubt and suppression of valid emotional response. Now, next, the nagging wife trope is again an extension of the previous meme or the previous type that I have discussed. Wives' demands are often termed as baseless and that they nag for the sake of nagging without any valid reason. The husband-wife jokes on social media, where the husband is shown as submissive and always agreeing to what the wife says for avoiding conflict, is very common. This portrayal is problematic for the fact that husbands are always shown as a victim of unnecessary conflict. Men's comfort is prioritized over women's emotional labor, though indirectly, and this also justifies the superficial presence of few husbands in the marriage. And finally, means trivializing the demands of feminists, making fun of their demands, terming them and their demands as irrational and impossible to achieve is quite frequent. This not only renders the legitimate demand of feminists for equality as trivial, but also stops the conversation on gender equality and as something which is unachievable. They are termed as biased, villains, man haters, just for demanding equality. So, my question is, what is the way out? I personally am not a very big enthusiast of censoring or banning such memes. I feel that no expression of thoughts um, deserve to be banned. So I feel that feminist humor has a role to play here. They can use the collective experience of women in general to express their demands, as collective experience is more relatable than individual responses. Again, making people aware of the actual demands of the feminists and busting the myths against them and psychological repercussions of consuming such memes. If people are made aware of this might help. With this, I'll conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kunal. We appreciate your insightful presentation. Thank you for sharing your research. Our next speaker is LMS Navodaya, a lecturer in Open University of Sri Lanka, speaking on the topic Social Media as an Amplifier of Gender-Sensitive Human Security, Insights from Sri Lanka. Navodaya, are you there?
Am I audible?
Yes,
So,
yes, you are. You can start.
sure. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sarojini Naidu, a lecturer in political science and international relations at the University of Sri Lanka. So today I shall be presenting my study of the topic social media as an amplifier of gender-sensitive human security insights from Sri Lanka. So setting a context to my study, human security was a concept that actually came into prominence or was introduced post-Cold War with the changing world order and the nature of threats, which called for the expansion of the scope of security, where human security suggested of shifting the different objects of security from the traditional state-centric focus to humans and moving away from, in addition to the so-called military threats, to identify other types of threats like food, other types of security dimensions like food security, health security, environmental security, economic security, personal, political, and collective security. So, despite positives about human security, one major criticism that human security receives mainly from feminist security studies scholars is that human security is gender blind and that it does not take into consideration the gender dynamics whenever it is analysis. So when you think about the relationship between social media and human security, the literature, when you go through the literature available, it is observable that most of the literature does speak about the negative impact of social media on human security, and there is very limited work that speaks on how social media could um, become a positive impact on human security at some point as well. So the main purpose of my research was to, by using Sri Lankan case studies, to look at how social media can also at times have a positive impact on human security, while adding to the existing debate on the gender-blind nature of human security. So I had three research questions in my study. The first one was, to what extent does the gender-blind nature of the traditional human security framework in the recognition, discussion, and response to gender-specific vulnerabilities? Second, how does social media serve as an alternative platform for challenging and rectifying the blind spots of human security? And thirdly, to what extent the social media platforms initiate a human security-driven discussion by highlighting specific vulnerabilities and threats as concerns. So, in terms of the methodology, I utilize a holistic approach. To answer the first research question, for my integrative reviews, I use secondary sources such as selected key introductory documents on human security and also existing studies that have been conducted on the practical preventability and the application of human security and gender in practice. So for the case study, I specifically chose the YouTube platform in Sri Lanka because YouTube has been identified as the second most popular social media platform in Sri Lanka after Facebook. Mainly, I chose YouTube because of its in-depth storytelling characteristics through long videos and because it has a greater longevity and is accessible over time. So I chose a few selected episodes of web series, starting with Sigma's Talk Show with Aritash, The Talk Show, Epocard Explainer, and Epochat, based on the credibility of who has published the work and who has conducted these episodes. So then in terms of my key findings, in the first section, it was found that gender-blind nature of human security impedes the recognition, discussion, and the response to gender-specific vulnerability to a large extent. Because whenever you look at the sources that I referred to, you could see while some key documents make very superficial references to gender, certain other references really do not cite gender at all. in their discussion. So gender is an important factor for these introductory documents. And even those studies that looked at the relationship between gender and human security in practice. People like Hogan, 2021, in their study about human trafficking in Mediterranean, how this concept of human security could be applied, they found that because it was not substantial enough and reflects gender, so they could not ineffective policies regarded like the Palermo Protocol, which did not look at the male victims of trafficking because it sticks to human security, still to the notion that men are always perpetrators and women will always be victims. So that was one finding, and the other finding which comes with this is that the gender blindness of human security exists both in practice as well as in investigation. In terms of the case study, all the episodes that I selected did raise awareness about various personal, economic, and health insecurities faced by LGBTQ plus community members, past women in the country. So the conclusion was that social media supports in eradicating or in completing this flow noted the gender blindness in human security by being a tool of awareness raising. But one thing that was noted here is that although the awareness raising happens about certain inequalities, these episodes do not refer to these inequalities as human security issues, but they do talk about it as human rights issues. So what it suggested is that human security should become more included in the public discourse. And if all these inequalities also shed light upon the human security status of the country, which is an eye-opener for the policymakers in the country. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Navodaya, for your insightful presentation on the role of social media in amplifying gender-sensitive human security. Your perspectives on Sri Lanka have added great depth to our discussion. Now to our last presenter of this session, Srijita Roy, an assistant professor in Kulhati Dr. B.R. Ambedkar College, West Bengal, who will speak on re-evaluating the role of mobile safety apps in women's protection, a case study of Kolkata's technological interventions. Srijita, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm there.
Yeah, you can start, Srijita.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. The topic that I'm going to discuss today is the illusion of safety, re-evaluating mobile safety apps for women's protection in Kolkata. I am an assistant professor in the Department of Sociology at Kultoli Dr. B.R. Ambedkar College in West Bengal. Now, firstly, I would like to start with the illusion of safety. Imagine a woman is walking home alone at night in South Kolkata. She feels uneasy. She reaches into her bag, pulls out a phone, and quickly opens a safety app. She presses the SOS button, but then her phone dies. Or maybe the network fails. Or perhaps the help simply doesn't arrive in time. This is the uncomfortable reality behind many mobile safety apps. They promise security, but in critical moments, they often fail. More importantly, they shift the responsibility onto women rather than addressing the deeper systematic issues of public safety and gender-based violence. Today, I'll critically examine whether mobile safety apps genuinely protect women or create new risks for them. I'll explore Kolkata's safety initiatives, their limitations, and why real solutions must go beyond technology. We have a rise of the safety apps now in Kolkata. In response to the growing concerns related to gender-based violence, several mobile safety apps have been introduced in Kolkata, which includes Bondhu Kolkata Police Citizen app that offers SOS alerts and direct access to emergency helplines. We have Ratri Shathi app, which ensures safer travel at night with security assistance. We have Safety Pin, which rates the safety of public spaces based on lighting, surveillance, and crowd presence. We have Citizen COP that allows users to report crimes anonymously. And the other one is Missing Link Trust app, which focuses on rescuing missing women and children. These apps are marketed as digital shields against violence, reassuring women that they have a tool to call for help. But the real question is, do they actually work in real life crisis? According to me, the answer is no. There are areas where these apps fall short. Firstly, over-reliance on technology. What happens if your phone battery dies or there is no internet connectivity? What if the app malfunctions or glitches when you need it the most? Can we truly rely on these emergency response teams to reach on time? While these apps provide psychological comfort, they are often unreliable in case of emergencies. They give a woman a false sense of security rather than addressing their actual threats. There is the issue of privacy and data risks. Many safety apps require real-time location sharing. But who else has access to this data? Can these apps be hacked, exposing women to new dangers like stalking or surveillance? Should safety come at the cost of privacy and security? Several cases have emerged where women have been harassed after their location data was leaked. Instead of empowering them, these apps sometimes make them more vulnerable. Next, there is the issue of shifting the responsibility into women. The real problem isn't that women go out alone. It is the unsafe streets, weak law enforcement, and a culture of impunity. Why should women be the ones downloading the apps, sharing their locations, and staying hyper alert? Instead of fixing systematic problems, these apps place the burden of safety onto the woman, making them responsible for their own protection. The reality is that mobile apps cannot fix the lack of safe public spaces. They are only a temporary patch over a much deeper issue. My research findings show that I have done this research finding based on interviews with female users and law enforcement officers and digital security experts. And I found that 60% of women said these apps provide psychological comfort but do not change the real life safety. Many avoid using this location sharing feature due to their privacy concerns. 1 out of 3 women experience technical failures when trying to use safety apps in emergencies. And police response times remained inconsistent even when SOS alerts were triggered. These findings highlight a critical point. While safety apps may offer reassurance, they are not always the solution. They provide a sense of control but fail to address the root cause of gender-based violence. So, what we actually need is some real solutions. Instead of focusing solely on technology, we need a three-pronged approach to women's safety. Firstly, we need an urban infrastructure and public safety. We need better street lighting, CCTV surveillance, and secure transport operations at night. We need well-planned public spaces that do not create isolated and unsafe areas. We need proper law enforcement reforms like faster emergency response times and better coordination between police and citizens. We need gender-sensitive training for law enforcement officers to ensure that cases of harassment and violence are taken a little more seriously. We need a cultural change, like we need to teach men not to harass rather than constantly teaching women how to be safe. Bystander intervention programs need to be encouraged so that communities actively step in to prevent violence. Safety should not be a personal responsibility of that a woman must manage through technology. It should be a fundamental right guaranteed by our state and the society. And the conclusion, I would like to say that our safety is beyond technology. Let's ask ourselves, do we want more apps or do we want real protection? Should women rely on technology or should cities be safe by default? Technology can assist in emergencies, but it cannot replace structural changes that ensure lasting safety. Women should not have to live in fear. Instead of teaching them how to navigate danger, we need to build a society where they no longer have to think about their danger. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shujita, for your insightful presentation on the role of mobile safety apps in women's protection. Your case study on Kolkata's technological interventions provided valuable perspectives on the effectiveness and challenges of digital safety measures. So, all the presentations have provided valuable perspectives and sparked important discussions on this topic. The session has critically engaged with the possibilities and paradoxes of digital feminism. We now open the floor for questions and discussions. Let's continue this important conversation. Sajid, you can now take over.
Thank you, Afreen. So we have a couple of questions. I will read out to you. So the first question is from Tanu Singh to Eva. How can digital tools be effectively utilized to document and disseminate evidence of abuse, human right abuses, ensuring the protection of individuals' right while raising awareness of violence and injustice? Any instance which you can share from your findings, Eva? Eva, please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Thank you for your question. Digital tools play a crucial role in documenting and disseminating human rights abuses by enabling real-time recording. I hope I'm audible. So my key findings, I have seen that platforms like Twitter, YouTube, and Ushahidi it allows activists to share evidence instantly, while encrypted apps like Signal and Secure Drop protect whistleblowers from surveillance. One strong example is the hashtag EndSARS movement in Nigeria 2020, where viral videos of police brutality led to policy changes and other international awareness. So, however, challenges like censorship, misinformation, and algorithmic suppression persist, requiring activists to navigate digital security while ensuring the visibility of marginalized voices. That's what have come across through my key findings. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva, your insightful findings. Next question is from Tanvi to Balaka. My question is to Balaka is, are there effective global models for countering online gender-based violence that India could adopt?
Am I like audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay, so like when I studied that how gender-based violences are perpetrated in Indian Twitter space, so previously Twitter was a platform that was used by women, people from LGBTQI community, or any people who do not agree with the mainstream media, and it was used as an alternative media. And we have seen how in Delhi gang rape case, progressive people has used that platform to voice their opinion, because previously somehow because of progressive laws that was there, we have to understand that these technologies and these social media apps are predominantly belong from the global north, and out of global north also these all these tech firms and technologies are from global north. So their political changes and their changes in rhetorics and narratives impact over the laws. So previously, when there was Twitter, if anyone is making any objectionable post, or if that normalize or institutionalize violence against any community, any people can go and complain and file a complaint to Twitter, and that posts were like that account and the post were suspended. But now after Twitter was taken over by Elon Musk, and kind of like there is a change in regime in USA, and how Elon Musk take over of Twitter has not only changed the name from Twitter to X, but it has seen changes in laws and regulations. So under freedom of speech and expression, any kind of spaces, including normalizing and institutionalizing mob lynching to rape to this post, which has always glorified violences, has also been allowed, and post from like post which has normalized institutionalized white supremacy in America has allowed same thing in India, how like now that's why even post that has glorified rape cases, including pedophilia, has even like after multiple complaint and for violating the community guidelines, they has not been suspended. So kind of like the change in regime and change in rhetoric and narratives in USA impacts the laws and the regulations that are made to handle the social media apps, but how those changes has, in the name of liberalization, it has allowed people to come and perpetuate violence, and it has marginalized women and women within the marginalized section.
Thank
I
you, Balaka. You
also,
have
Sajid,
yeah,
I
Afrin,
also
please,
have a
please.
question with Balaka. And my question is that in what ways do survivors and activists use Twitter to resist and challenge gender-based violence? And how effective are these platform policies in supporting them?
So one way is like people go and complain against, like file a complaint against this post for violating the community guidelines, and usually these comments, like these accounts are suspended. But then they find the even the suspended account always find a way to come back with certain dots within their username, and they come back. And even like for Twitter, for anybody who is perpetuating violence or issuing rape threats or even acid attack, people tag the local police organizations. But even there were posts where there was a violence and mob lynching in Uttar Pradesh, and that has glorified this killing or lynching over consumption of beef. And people and activists has actually tagged Uttar Pradesh police, and the people who eventually perpetrated the violence and glorifying those violence in Twitter has mocked the people for tagging Uttar Pradesh police, saying that like it's a kind of like issuing the statement that how even police force or state cannot help them. So the only solution that even the project that I have undertaken is to strengthen cyber laws. Cyber, like India need to have, or any South Asian countries need to have an indigenous cyber crime laws which will strengthen laws to curtail the violence which are perpetuated to women or any other marginalized communities. But even for this solution, it has been seen that how the trolls who are mainly coming from the right wing political groups are even protected by the state political offices. So, kind of like these trolls are always used as weapons to silence the women, or not, because I've studied this for women, but even not only for women, but anyone who is having an alternative opinion or try to deviate or try to educate the population against the majoritarian narrative which is continuously being thrown upon people through movies or songs in popular media which has been made. That's why women who are from academician and then a famous history professor who like has studied Mughal history and do not agree with the popular narratives that are thrown on people over Mughal history, has met with severe violences and rape threats, which has actually forced her to opt out from Twitter, and how Twitter has not been the same space to provide an alternative platform for women or any progressive group to voice their opinion. So that basically people need to strengthen and force state to come with strong cyber laws, which will actually see cyberbullying as a real life crime, not just separate from that it is a cyberbullying and this is a real life crime, and henceforth it will not have any consequences, because people can go through depression, social isolation. And it has even like women in the interview has shared that who are content creator, they use Twitter to share their content, and they have met with economic consequences because their engagement has gone down since they cannot use Twitter anymore for popularizing or advertising their work. But since then, we do not have a strong cyber law which will criminalize cyberbullying. So these things are always like passed, and sometimes even it is a evident thing that has been even brought to the credible news sources from New York Times to Washington Post to even The Hindu has reported how certain troll groups with any random name are supported by the lawmakers, and the lawmakers align with the right winger, majoritarian, religious extremist thinking process.
Thank you, Balka. I have one more question for you. This is question from Hasnan. What is the impact of anonymity with online platforms on the perpetuation of gender-based violence?
Yeah, so the even anonymity, not only just anonymity, even privacy of a human being has been very much challenged in Indian Twitter space. Like the journalist, not a year back even, who writes for Washington Post, and she has very strong opinion against any political mishappening that is happening in India, including the mob lynching that is happening because of so-called cow consumption, or the rumors. Even the rumors are like at the verge of like can get a person killed. So even the church vandalism and the demolition of the places of worship, she has a very strong opinion, and how entire her address, including phone number, was doxed and shared in the WhatsApp group, which were having 100 men over there, and how they issued her rape threats and death threats. So it has not only impacted the anonymity, but it has also impacted her privacy. And any person like in Twitter who are having progressive opinion or even a slight opinion that can go against the majoritarian narratives, their right to privacy and even right to life and dignity has been threatened by continuous threats that has been issued, including the female members of the male celebrities has been subjected to the violences, because even they are not the one who are giving the opinion. But if a male cricketer fails in the ground, how the female members are always like responsible for their defeat, and how unjustifiably they have been targeted, including minor daughters. So even minors' pictures and their privacy has been hurt, and not only just privacy, it like hampers the right to life with dignity and including safety. Right? It challenges the right to existence, and that's why. With no other way to go, people opt out from Twitter, and that is actually striping people from voicing their political opinion.
Thank you, Balka, for your insightful findings and answers. Now, next questions to the Kunal from the Rakshanda. How do misogynistic memes shape public perception of feminism and gender roles?
All right. So thank you, Rakshanda, for the question. You see, there's a pattern to it. First of all, these people will make memes which will, just curtail the overall demands of, of feminists. For example, let's say they will make memes which are, uh, for example, they will first of all claim that their demands are unrealistic, their claims are unachievable, and then they will just make fun of the demands. For example, like I have used one of the memes in the paper as well, uh, with the caption saying feminists when they realize that they are a menace and not a womenist. So something like this. All right. Moreover, they will troll you. Moreover, they will uh, troll you to such an extent that on you won't be able to say that you are a feminist anymore. All right. Even people, even men who are over there to guard them, or let's say not guard, rather let's say support them, they will be termed as not sigma enough. All right. And if you are supporting their rights, if you are not let's say adhering to them, so you are not savage, which is very funny because as far as I know, savage means uncivilized, and this in social media, the word savage has suddenly become cool. Moreover, you are not a sigma male. The trope, the sigma male trope, which is again quite funny because sigma male are hate women, so they will be surrounded by men, but they cannot be surrounded by men as well because they are homophobic as well. So, which is quite funny. So, this is how, this whole thing comes up. So, jokes aside, the point is that this is how, this memes and this jokes kind of, this act as a hindrance to the demands, act as or a hindrance to the conversation of gender equality. Thank you.
Thank you, Kunal. Now, over to you, Afreen. If
Yeah, I have a question for Shrijita. Shrijita, are you there?
Yes, tell me.
Yeah. Shrijita, I would like to ask you that how do factors like digital literacy or socioeconomic backgrounds and law enforcement responsiveness impact the success of like mobile safety apps in Kolkata or like anywhere else? Like, what is your take on that?
Look, according to me, my study is basically based on urban Kolkata. Now, going by digital literacy, there is still, as I feel, there is still a huge gap. I mean, digital gap in the rural and urban areas. And regarding the law enforcement techniques, also, the women or the girls in the rural areas are still quite unaware about the law enforcement and the legal techniques that are available for them to fight against the kind of gender-based violence that they face. So these apps are very restricted to a certain section of people, and moreover to a certain age group, as in my study has shown me that those who are above the age of 40-45, they for them using these apps is still quite a bit of problem. It is mostly used by those who belong to the college goers and those within the age of 35. So, as your question said regarding the digital literacy, this digital literacy and the law enforcement thing that you're talking about, that is also restricted to a particular age group and to a particular socio-cultural context. That is what I have seen through my study. So that is why I initially thought of making a comparative study, but then I realized that their comparison, even I cannot draw a single comparison because the basic cultural and the social setup is different, and their awareness is also not much about these apps. So I have made my study based on urban Kolkata. And I teach in a college which is situated in a, in a village area. It is at Kultoli, and I had a talk, I had a conversation with my students also within the age group of 18 to 25, and they all the unanimous answer from each one of them is that they are unaware of these apps. So digital literacy is still quite a question.
Thank you so much, Shrijita, for that. Uh,
uh,
I again have a question for Kunal. Kunal, I hope you're there.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, like I would like to ask you that how do social media algorithms, like how do they affect gender-based jokes? Do they spread sexist jokes more for popularity, or like they can be used to support feminist messages instead?
It's all about engagement, ma'am. For example, algorithms support jokes or humor or contents which are, in which engagements are a lot. And you will see that on this sexist memes, or let's say humor, all right, the comment section is full of people. They are commenting on it, they are making fun, they are, again, there's a interaction, there are many more insights, many more jokes in the comment section. An algorithm, obviously, they will push such, it just traces that engagement and then push such things. For example, recently we have seen, few that's India's got latent, if I'm not wrong. Now, it was becoming really popular. Why it was becoming popular? Because of the views, because of the comment section, because of the engagement that people were making. And so obviously this sexist means, since people are unaware of the actual demands of the feminists, and since people are unaware of what actually is the harmful effect of these memes or consuming these memes, and so I guess they engage a lot in these sexist memes, and hence algorithm also push them, and it's a trap. It's just we are surrounded by. So hence I say that the engagement of feminist memes, not anti-feminist memes, rather as they are making anti-feminist memes, the feminist memes, feminist humor need to come up a lot more.
Thank you so much, Kunal, for answering that. Sajid, you can now take over.
Thank you, Afrin. I have a question for Srijita. What policy intervention are needed to ensure the mobile safety platforms effectively to support women in reporting of sexual harassment or violence cases? Can you please answer?
Can you please repeat your question?
Yeah, I am asking you the policy interventions that are needed. Have you covered this?
Yeah, actually the policy intervention that is required is that these apps need to be refreshed, and these apps need to work in such a manner that they are more accessible and more usable to the women when they are in times of emergency. It so happens that the apps are so so casually made that these apps what I have seen is that these apps lack some of the basic things which are required to to make the women reach up to the to the law enforcement areas, and to make people realize that they are in so much of trouble. So that is the thing. The basic making of these apps need to be a little better, as in it the entire system, this system has become a very casual thing, that women eve teasing of women is like, and women getting molested in the roads in as I see in Bengal. Kunal sir will also probably agree, since he is also from Bengal. This has become such a casual issue that even if you go and report it in the police station also, that is what I've mentioned. Even the police and those who are sitting at such levels, they also take it in a very casual manner, as in acha thik ache, as in this is normal. Like, and another thing is that you should not be there on the roads after 11. You should be dressed in proper manner. That is more important than taking care of how to make these apps work properly. That is what I would say.
Can I say something? And the point is that Srijita ma'am has already pointed out this casual approach is the reason that these apps are so poorly made.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Srijat and Kunal. Over to you,
And
Afrin.
going by Kunal sir's presentation, I would just like to add one thing. Like,
Yeah, sure.
feminism, according to all, is something that is going anti-men. So what
Yeah,
I
right.
believe is we need to have that cultural change and realize that feminism is not anti-women. It is like it's more pro-women. That is it. So we need to understand that.
Thank you so much, everyone. I mean, this session was truly, truly engaging, and it like basically like highlighted the ways in which online spaces serves as a platform for resistance, but it is also like can be said as a site for control, exclusion, and violence. Now, I would like to call Sajid again to give the formal word of thanks. Sajid, over to you.
Thank you, Afrin. Thank you for vote of thanks. So, good afternoon once again. It is my privilege to extend a vote of thanks for the technical session for Young Researcher Conference 2025 organized by Sarojini Naidu Centre for Women Studies. First of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Professor Nisal Zedi, Honorable Director of Sarojini Naidu Centre for Women Studies, for her invaluable support and guidance. A special thanks to our chair Afrin Hussain for her insightful contributions. I would like to extend my heartful thanks to the dedicated reporter Webhub for his diligent efforts for making the session, and big thanks to you, all the presenters and participants. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sajid and Vaibhav, for taking care of the session and reporting. So now we'll take a 40 minutes break and resume the session at 1:30. See you all soon.